All offseason, the San Francisco 49ers have not had any serious contract drama. That's been a switch up from years past. Brock Purdy paid this offseason. George Kittle paid. Fred Warner also receiving a contract extension. Now, Juaun Jennings has told the 49ers, with training camp nearing, pay me, and if you don't want to give me a new contract, trade me. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. It is a Monday, July 14th. Hopefully everybody out there had a fantastic weekend. And outside of this news, your weeks are off to a great start. Before we dive in, this is why you subscribe to the channel, because when Niners news breaks, I don't care what I'm doing, where I'm at, I always have you covered right here on the channel. So ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter with this bombshell tweet just moments ago that 49ers wide receiver Juaun Jennings, who is scheduled to make $7.5 million this year in the final year of his contract, wants a new deal or a trade per sources. The 49ers extended Jennings and his deal last year, but that does not change how Jennings feels about this year in 2025. An important date to remember, July 22nd. That's when veterans for San Francisco are scheduled to report to Santa Clara for the start of training camp. Now, rookies, and this is a huge draft class for this Niners organization, will report to the SAP Performance Center in Santa Clara tomorrow on July 15th. So will Juaun Jennings, without a new contract, hold out? Will he hold in? That is something that we're going to have to continue to monitor here over the next several days and into the start of training camp. And you think about this offseason for San Francisco, and it really started last year during the season when they gave that contract to Deommodore Lenoir. Under this John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, Parag, Jed York regime, the Niners oftentimes have waited to pay their players in giving them contract extensions. That has been a strategy that maybe several years ago there weren't any issues with it, but of late it has kind of burned the Niners, both financially, because then they have to pay these players more than what their market value might be, but it also hurts San Francisco from a cultural, psychological football standpoint. When these contract negotiations linger and they become hostile and dramatic and they bleed into training camp, it takes the focus away from football. And you can't sit there and tell me that doesn't matter. Especially going into last year when the Niners had to deal with the Brandon Aiyuk contract saga. Trent Williams wanted a new deal. So too did Christian McCaffrey. And coming off a heartbreaking Super Bowl defeat, when the Niners' spirits were already low, when last year we saw they were physically and mentally burnt out, the focus at the start of training camp wasn't always on football. It was on some of these contract negotiations and the back and forths between the player and his representation and the San Francisco 49ers organization. That then trickled into the year last year, and we saw a Niners team that was so spotty, so up and down, so inconsistent, so Jekyll and Hyde, and a lot of that had to do with the fact that a lot of the Niners' core players didn't practice at all throughout training camp. They were not on the field for preseason games. And then obviously to start the year, Christian McCaffrey ended up having that bilateral Achilles tendonitis, but Brandon Aiyuk wasn't at 100% as far as his conditioning level, nor was Trent Williams. And so this offseason, after the Niners over the last several years, 2020 with George Kittle, his first contract extension, Fred Warner in 2021, his contract extension. Deebo Samuel in 2022 with his contract extension. Nick Bosa in 2023, he didn't sign that deal until the Wednesday before the season opener. And then last year with Brandon Aiyuk, this offseason, the Niners have prioritized paying their players early. Because when you wait again, You allow the market to reset. When you wait, you have to deal with these contract negotiations. Sometimes you have to overpay for your players. And again, the important point that I made, the focus is not on football. So with Deommodore Lenoir, the Niners got ahead of that last year, and they paid him before the cornerback market exploded. Charvarius Ward, he got $20 million per year. The Niners, at the deal that they got Deommodore Lenoir, ended up being a huge discount for San Francisco. If he were to have hit the open market, he would have been one of the most sought-after cornerbacks in free agency. He would have gotten paid more. The Niners would have gotten outbid. So this offseason, again, going back to last year with Lenoir, they wanted to put the focus on football once training camp came around. Get the deal done with Brock Purdy. Get the contract extension done with George Kittle. Let's also pay Fred Warner. Let's lock down our pillars. And so when training camp comes, we don't have to worry about these contract negotiations. Now, Juaun Jennings enters the chat. But let me tell you why this is actually great news for San Francisco. I would rather Juaun Jennings won a new deal now as compared to after the year. Juaun Jennings putting pressure on the Niners organization is a good thing. Let me explain. If Juaun Jennings in 2025 goes out there and performs as well or better than he did in 2024, when he had a career-high 975 receiving yards and he was the number one receiver option at the wide receiver position for Brock Purdy, if he were to hit free agency next offseason, the Niners would not be able to afford him. In an exploding wide receiver market, given his value as a run blocker, value culturally, his size, contested catchability, and his rise as a player, what he brings to the field, swagger, physicality, leadership. If Jennings in 2025 comes close to the production that he had in 2024, he would demand a lot more money than what he's worth right now. He would probably be owed $15+ million per season if the Niners wanted to pay him after the 2025 campaign if he put up similar production to what he did this past year. But now, I think that the Niners can get him at a pretty affordable rate considering his importance and how good of a player he is for this Niners organization. I think that the going rate for Jennings could be between $11 and $15 million per year. Whereas if he had a really good year in 2025, that number would start at $15 million. And there is some pressure on San Francisco to get this deal done. Juaun Jennings is a great player development story for this Niners organization. A former 7th-round pick, didn't make the 53 as a rookie, was on the practice squad all year. In 2021, made his impact be felt. 2022 got better from 2021. 2023 got better from the previous year. And in 2024, a career year. This is a former 7th-round pick who has progressed and developed and gotten better, and he's become a very well-respected player inside this organization, both with the front office, the coaching staff, and on the roster. Again, swagger, leadership, physicality. The guy just loves ball, a willing run blocker. He's developed a really good rapport with the quarterback who you just locked up. Contested catch guy. He can make plays downfield. And what's the guy's nickname? Third and Jauan. For the last few years, he has come up huge time and time again on some of these money downs, which I like to call 3rd down and 4th down. That's when and where you make your money, and Juaun Jennings has become incredibly clutch. And so with Brandon Aiyuk dealing with this knee injury, he might be ahead of schedule. We talked about that on Friday. He might be doing well in his rehab. There might be a chance that he comes back week 1. I'd say that's highly unlikely. Let's say that he's placed on PUP to start the year. You don't have Aiyuk at least the first month of the year. Ricky Pearsall had some pop last year, showed some flashes, but he hurt his hamstring again for the second time in as many years earlier this offseason. You have big question marks and a lot of uncertainty at the wide receiver position, and Juaun Jennings right now is your best wide receiver without Brandon Aiyuk. And you have the second most cap space in the NFL at $45.5 million. It would be wise for San Francisco to not let this linger. You have the money at your disposal right now to be able to pay Juaun Jennings. And I think that it's the wise move to give him a contract. And here's the thing. It would not be an overpay right now. You can get Jennings at a very affordable contract if you pay him right now. Don't let this linger. Don't let a holdout happen. So much about football is about timing, reps, precision, continuity, rapport. Get all of your players on the field so that at the start of training camp, you can start working toward mastering this offense, working on some of the nuances of offensive football, get back on track after last year's up and down offensive season, and get your playmakers on the field so that you can start getting ready for week one. Whereas last year in week one, you were playing catch up, and it showed all season long with a very mundane offensive performance. Now, when you look at Juaun Jennings' numbers, last year was a true breakout year. This is another reason why for San Francisco, you have a little bit of leverage from this standpoint. All right, JJ, you want to get paid? We totally understand your value. But the contract's going to be between $11 and $15 million per year because last year is the only good year of production that you've had. 282 as far as yards in 2021 with 5 touchdowns. 416 yards, 1 touchdown in year 2. 265 yards, 1 touchdown in year 3. And then last year, the breakout year. 113 targets, 77 catches, 975 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Now, prior to that, starting in 2021, again, the first year that he was active, his rookie year was 2020, let's look at targets, right? 38 targets, 24 catches. 56 targets, 35 catches. 33 targets, 19 catches. Last year, 113 targets, 77 catches. So again, if he were to have gone out in 2025, which is entirely possible, entering his age 28 season, and duplicated that production from 2024, I don't think the Niners would be able to afford him, or they would have to overpay to keep him. Now, you can afford him. You have the money to use. You have plenty of cap space available. You know how important he is to your team. You just locked up a young quarterback. You're trying to surround him with weapons who he works well with. You paid George Kittle. Why not now pay Juaun Jennings, who can be an awesome number 2 or number 3 wide receiver for the foreseeable future, again, at a very affordable price tag? You think about the Dolphins. They're paying Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle both more than $25 million per year. The Eagles are paying Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown more than $25 million per year. You're paying Aiyuk $30. If you think that Juaun Jennings is a really good number 2 and you get him between $11 and $15 million, that's a win. You don't have to worry about Ricky Pearsall for a couple of years. You signed Demarcus Robinson to a 2-year deal. Jacob Cowing's entering year 2 of a 4-year rookie deal. And Jordan Watkins is entering year 1 of a 4-year rookie contract. Get this Juaun Jennings deal done. He deserves it. He's a great player developmental story for your organization, and he's a really, really good player, and you can save money by paying him now. Learn from your previous mistakes. The Niners clearly did that this offseason. They learned from Aiyuk, Bosa, Debo. They didn't want holdouts. They didn't want to talk contracts during training camp. They didn't want to overpay. So this offseason, Purdy, Kittle, Warner got those deals done. Get the deal done now with Juaun Jennings, and it can end up being a huge win for your organization on the field and on your books, which clearly Jed York is thinking a lot about right now with how this team has spent this offseason. So Juaun Jennings, pay me or trade me. As far as what the Niners could get back in a trade, I don't really think they're going to get back a ton for Juaun Jennings. You trade him away, your wide receiver room goes from being probably middle of the pack in the NFL to sliding down even lower among the 32 teams. So that is the breaking news on this Monday, July 14th. Juaun Jennings wants a new deal. If not, he wants to get traded. I'll be back later with another video here on the channel. That's why you subscribe. My name is Chase Sr. You're watching the 49ers Report. Thanks for rocking with me and supporting the show.